Welcome to Become an NBA GM Draft Edition. Today you'll step into the shoes of a general manager and make crucial decisions which can shape the future of a franchise. Get ready for a thrilling journey throughout the draft. Let's dive in.
Good screen. Posey will defend. Oh! LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Before we begin, let's set the scene. We are in the mid-2000s, a time when the NBA is evolving and the league is known for its gritty, physical play style. But teams are starting to embrace a more perimeter-oriented style. Big men still dominate the paint, but versatility is becoming increasingly valuable. With the introduction of new talents, the landscape of the game is shifting, paving the way for a new generation of players. Let's see which teams are ready to make their mark in this pivotal draft. First up, you'll need to choose a team to manage. Here are the 5 franchises looking to add talent to their rosters. Alright, first up we have Team A. They have the first overall pick in this year's draft with a record last season of 27-55. If you were to choose this team, your best player would be a 21-year-old big who averaged over 20 points a game and 9 rebounds last year and was a first-time All-Star. You and your staff must make roster changes to maximize this player's potential. The only safe player on your roster is your star big man who can play the power forward or center position because of their versatility and increased shooting ability. Will you draft a more experienced rookie who can help you right away, a player with more long-term potential, or simply the best player in the draft? Next we have Team B. They have the second overall pick in this year's draft with a record last year of 41-41, which made them the 7th seed in the East, making the playoffs. However, they lost in the first round. If you were to choose this team, your best player would be a 6'3" guard who averaged almost 17 points a game last year. You also have a good point guard who is the leader of your team. You also have a young wing who is a good all-around player and a big man who could potentially be a defensive anchor for you in the future. Your team is pretty balanced but could use a lot of help on the offensive end. There is also a rumor that your team might look to move back in this draft to add more NBA-ready talent. Next we have Team C. They have the 3rd overall pick in this year's draft with a record last season of 26-56. This team was an expansion team a couple years ago. If you were to choose this team, your best player would be a 6'10" big who averaged almost 2 blocks a game last year and has a defensive player of the year potential. Your owner wants you to acquire more NBA-ready talent in this draft that can contribute right away. However, your assistant GM and scout suggest that you draft a younger player with higher potential because your team is not ready to compete. Will you draft a more experienced player or a younger player? Ultimately, the decision is yours. Next we have Team D. They have the 4th overall pick in this year's draft with a 21-61 record last year, which was the worst record in the league. Your best players are a 6'9" big and a 6'9" wing. However, these players are from the previous regime, and your staff must decide whether to continue to rebuild with these players or start fresh. Either way, your team is a rebuilding team looking to add as much talent as possible in this draft. There's also a rumor that you are potentially looking to trade up in this draft for another top 10 pick. In this draft, you are looking to add a player or 2 who can be an offensive focal points for your team in the future. Lastly, we have Team E. They have the 5th overall pick in this year's draft with a record last year of 26-56. If you were to choose this team, your best player would be a 6'7" wing who averaged over 20 points a game last year and is likely to be an All-Star next year. You also have a 6'9" wing who can slide up and play the big position. You're getting pressure from your owner to select more NBA-ready players in this draft who can help you more right away. However, your team is relatively young and very top-heavy and simply not talented enough to compete just yet. Your roster is also starting to get crowded at the wing position. Will you select an older player who can help you more right away or a younger player who might have higher potential? After seeing all 5 teams, it is time to make your decision. Who will you choose? If you need more time to decide, pause the video now. Congratulations, you've chosen your team. Now let's meet the top prospects available in this year's draft. The team you pick determines your draft status. If another team has a pick before yours, their pick will be simulated and their player will be selected for them. If you select a player, and then later in the video, that same player is selected by another team, that player belongs to your team, and the other team will receive the next player down on the consensus big board. Remember the time period in which this draft is taking place, the mid-2000s. It is your decision whether to draft for the now or for the future. First up on the consensus draft board, we have player number 1. They're a 6'11" big, 20 years old, with a lot of offensive potential. Good footwork, hands, and quickness for a big, also good ball handling. They have the ability to step out and hit the mid-range shot and the three-pointer. However, they lack NBA strength, and because of this, they do not like to play a lot in the paint, which causes their field goal percentage to be lower than you would like from a big man. They are not a great defender other than using their length to block and affect shots, and they are not an elite rebounder for a big man, but overall average. They are a premier player in their league in Europe. However, there were questions about how they will feel not being the best player on the NBA team. The next player on the consensus draft board is player number 2. They are also a 6'11 big, 20 years old. This player is an extremely smooth post player with a lot of post moves in their arsenal. They also have the ability to step out to 12 feet, hit the mid-range jumper. They have good hands and good footwork. They recently put on 25 pounds of muscle, which makes them a more confident and consistent post player. They're a good rebounder, especially an offensive rebounder, and a decent shot blocker. While this player is a dominant post player, they are not physically imposing and like to play more of a finesse game. Their passing and ball handling are decent but not elite, and there are questions about their mentality. Do they have the killer instinct to be a star in this league? They last played in the SEC as a college sophomore. Next up on the draft board, we have player 3. They're a 6'8 wing, 21 years old. They're a good scorer and a good shooter, all around solid offensively with good fundamentals. They had a lot of success in college, and they can play well with or without the ball. They're a decent playmaker who sees the floor well and are decent size for an NBA wing. However, they are not an NBA level athlete. They have slower feet and are not especially quick or fast. This hurts them on the defensive end as they lack that lateral movement to stay in front of guys. They also lack NBA strength, and there are questions about their ability to score on NBA level defenses. They last played in the West Coast Conference as a college junior. Next up, we have player 4. They're a 6'8 wing, 20 years old. They have NBA level athleticism. They have a full offensive arsenal as they are a jack of all trades. Good shooter, excellent slasher and cutter to the basket. Decent passer for a non-guard and a good rebounder for a non-big man. And they're a good wing defender. However, there are questions about their on-court confidence. Seen as sometimes being a little too unselfish, they're good but not elite at creating shots for themselves, and they only have average ball handling and playmaking ability. Big questions about do they have the mentality to be an NBA star. They last played in the Big East as a college sophomore. Next we have player 5. They're a 6'9 big / wing, 20 years old. They're an elite athlete, explosive, fast, quick with an over a 40-inch vertical. They're a good shot blocker and potentially an elite NBA defender. They're a good finisher at the rim, good runner in transition, and they're a good rebounder despite their size. There are slight injury concerns as their freshman year, they were out the entire year with a neck injury. However, they played their entire sophomore year. Because of this, they are considered a late bloomer, and they have a very limited offensive skill set as they're not a great shooter, ball handler, or passer. They're slightly small for an NBA power forward, but not enough skill for an NBA small forward. They last played in the SEC as a college sophomore. Next on the draft board, we have player 6. They're a 6'6 guard, 22 years old. They're an excellent all-around guard with no real weaknesses in their games. Very polished decision maker, very poised, good leader. They have good shot creation ability, and they are a good mid-range shooter and an improving three-point shooter. And they have good size and strength for an NBA guard. However, they are considered a jack of all trade and a master of none as they are not elite at any aspect of the offensive game. They're an older player playing all 4 years in college, and they have a below average wingspan. This, combined with their only average speed and quickness, leads to them being a decent defender because of the effort they give, but not elite at any level. There are also questions because it took until their senior year to put it all together. They last played in the Pac-12 as a college senior. Next on the draft board, we have player number 7. They are a 6'3 combo guard. They're a pure scorer, crafty guard, excellent at driving and finishing in the basket. They're a great ball handling, good strength, and able to use this strength to dominate defenders. They have a good mid-range shooter who are able to stop on a dime and an aggressive defender. However, they are not at all a good three-point shooter, though they showed slight improvement in this area. They are not a great playmaker, especially for someone who plays the point guard position. Because of their height and their limited playmaking ability, there are questions about whether they can play point guard successfully at the NBA level. They last played in the Big East as a college senior. Lastly, player number 8 is a 6'9 big. They are strong with a big body. They're a good paint defender and won Defensive Player of the Year in college 2 years ago. They have a long wingspan which helps them play bigger than they really are, and they dominated the paint in college. And they've shown flashes of a 12 to 15 foot jumper. However, they are considered very stiff in their movements as they are not very fast or quick, and they lack the ability to improvise and create for themselves. They're also not a great passer, shooter, or ball handler. They were great in college, but can their game translate to the NBA? They last played in the ACC as a college senior. Now that you have scouted the players, it is time to make your selection. Which prospect will you draft for your team? Again, you have 8 total players from which to choose from, so even if you have the 5th pick, you still have 3 players from which to choose from. Here's another look at the consensus big board. Please at any time return to this page if needed, and let the draft begin. With the first pick in the NBA draft, Team A selects player number 1, the 6'11 stretch big from Europe. With the second pick in the NBA draft, Team B selects player number 2, the 6'11 dominant post player from the SEC. With the third pick in the NBA draft, Team C selects player number 3, the 6'8 all-around wing from the West Coast Conference. With the fourth pick in the NBA draft, Team 4 selects. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a trade to announce. Team D trades the rights to this pick to Team B for the rights to player 2 and other draft compensation. The fourth pick now belongs to Team B. So with that, the fourth pick in the draft, Team B selects player number 5, 6'8" athletic defensive big from the SEC. With the fifth and final pick in this NBA draft, Team E selects player number 8, the 6'9" big body defensive big. Here's a look at all the draft results. As you will see, player number 5 jumped up to pick 4, player number 8 jumped all the way up to pick 5, which means player number 4 fell all the way to pick 8. You've made your pick. Now we'll reveal the teams and players from which you chose from. After the reveal, comment down below what team you chose and what player you drafted, and then give yourself a grade based on how you think you drafted. Also give other comments a grade based on what they drafted. And now time for the reveal. This was the draft year of 2006. Team A was the Toronto Raptors, Team B was the Chicago Bulls, Team C was the Charlotte Bobcats, Team D was the Portland Trail Blazers, and Team E was the Atlanta Hawks. We'll now reveal each player one by one. Player number 1 was Andre Bargnani. They played 10 seasons in the NBA and were awarded the All-Rookie team. Their stats are as follows. Note that WS stands for win share, the estimate of a number of wins contributed by a player, and PER stands for player efficiency rating, which is a measure of permanent production for a player, standardized so that the league average is 15. Next we have player number 2, who was LaMarcus Aldridge. They played 16 seasons in the NBA, 5-time All-NBA player, 7-time All-Star, and awarded the All-Rookie team. Their stats are below. Player number 3 is Adam Morrison. They played 3 seasons in the NBA, awarded the All-Rookie team, and 2-time champion with the Lakers. Their stats are below. Morrison sustained an ACL injury in his second year that effectively ended his career prematurely. Player number 4 was Rudy Gay. They played 17 seasons in the NBA, awarded the All-Rookie team. Their stats are below. Next is player number 5, who was Tyrese Thomas. They played 8 seasons in the NBA, awarded the All-Rookie team, and their stats are below. Player number 6 was Brandon Roy. They played 6 seasons in the NBA, 3-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, Rookie of the Year, and All-Rookie team. Their stats are below. Roy's career was impacted by knee injuries in both knees, which effectively ended his career prematurely, right as he was entering his prime. Player number 7 is Randy Foye. They played 11 seasons in the NBA and awarded the All-Rookie team. Their stats are below. And last but not least, player number 8 was Sheldon Williams. They played 6 seasons in the NBA. Their stats are below. The stats attached to these players were their real live stats. And yes, they might have had different stats where they drafted to a different team, such as the one you drafted them to today. However, for the sake of this exercise, let's assume that they will have similar statistics and careers for the teams that you drafted them to. Thank you for joining this interactive draft experience. What did you think of their choices? Be sure to drop a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Also be on the lookout for future videos like this. And if you have any tips on how to make these videos more fun or interactive, please let me know down below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the bell button for more NBA content. Until next time, God bless.